The Singer Quantum Stylist 9960 comes loaded with accessories. When you first open it up, you'll find the accessories inside the arm of the machine. Now do note that this will come off. You have a free arm, and then this is where, once you use the table, where it will fit in and around the machine. So I'm going to just leave this on for right now, but we're going to go through all the feet. But before I go through this, I can't be any more excited to then tell you about this bonus pack of feet that came with it. Now there's a reason this is so exciting for me, and I had to kind of study it because I'm like, these are all the Husqvarna Viking feet that we are used to selling in our stores. So we have a retail store in South Dakota. We're a Bernina, Husqvarna Viking, Pfaff, and Singer store. But these are our Husqvarna Viking feet, which means that there is a special attachment that comes with this. They call it a shank. You actually switch it for what is currently on the machine, and you can actually buy Husqvarna Viking feet for this machine. You don't know how exciting that is. That means that you can do our complete Husqvarna Viking Stitching Cosmos online course and purchase feet that I talk about. So it's pretty cool. So I'm going to do those last, but let's just go through all the ones that come with the machine, plus a few other items that originally were packaged in here. So in no particular order, I'm going to just go through them. You can store them in here. That'd be a great place. But speaking of, there's actually a little place and a holder for the buttonhole foot. Now that does look a little complex, but what's nice is you can actually put your button in this foot, and the machine will do a buttonhole to the exact size of the button you put in there. So I'm going to just leave that in because it's got a nice little perfect place for it. There's other things like screwdrivers and seam rippers in here, so I'm going to just kind of put those back in. A brush, because we do need to clean out this machine about every 3 to 5 bobbins that you use up. I want you to get inside here, take these 2 screws out of the throat plate. And by the way, this is your actual screwdriver for that use. So it looks like a little key, but that means they're short and it's easy to get your hands in here and take those screws out. So screwdriver, brush, clean it. It makes all the difference in the world. This is a little seam guide. So this can actually attach in that hole right there. And you can actually place a guide to help keep your fabric running smooth at a different seam allowance. So always check your pattern, what your seam allowances actually are. Okay, for bobbins, it looks like there's actually 3 bobbins that come with this machine. There's an empty one in the machine right now and 2 extra. Nope, there's the 4th one. It's clear. There we go. So one thing nice about these bobbins is that they're easy to find. They are the class 15 plastic bobbins, very common bobbin out there. And don't worry that they're plastic and not metal. All they're doing is holding the thread. But there is going to be metal class 15 bobbins. Don't get those. Your machine is not set up for the weight of the heavier bobbin. So make sure you are using the clear ones. Okay, 1/4-inch foot. You quilters, you're going to love that. It actually has little lines to assist with 1/8 of an inch seam allowances as well. And there is actually, it's over here right this second, there is a walking foot in a box. So this was packaged separately with your machine. So we'll show you how to put that walking foot on correctly. There's a zipper foot. Zipper feet are actually designed to have 2 sides, a left and a right. So if you're working on the left side of the zipper or the right side, you'll attach it accordingly. So sometimes you'll be on one side or the other. This one, a clear foot. So this is going to be a foot that will be recommended on your machine by a letter from time to time that will say B. B as in boy. And that is the right foot for some of those decorative stitches because there's a little cutout back here. The thick stitches need to have a place to kind of flow out the back. So that is a great foot to have. And you can see where you're going because it's kind of clear instead of metal on the front. There is an open toe foot, so a foot that actually has no clear part. You can actually see all the way into the needle. I love to use that one for applique. This one's considered a cording foot. Again, a foot we use in our Stitching Cosmos course where we do 3 cords and stitch over them. It's a couching technique, so you can put in all 3. You can put in the outside and inside cord. You can put in just 1 cord there. They just slip in, so it is a great one to use. Some of your stitches are going to call for the C foot, C as in cat, because it is for overlock stitching. So that's a great one to use. And a D foot is a blind hem foot. So this is adjustable. So we'll show you how you can adjust it left and right for a blind hem, get it dialed in perfectly. You're sewing on buttons. I love to sew on buttons by a machine, super easy. And yes, this machine even has a button sew on stitch. You pick the stitch, you put your button underneath the two little arms, and it holds it while it stitches in the eyes. Awesome. A free motion foot. So some people will call this a darning foot. I call it for a free motion. So it does attach and lets you free motion quilt. So a technique that is going to take a little bit to practice and learn, but I'll give you the basics. How do you get your machine set up for that technique? And then you'll be on your way to practicing that. A hemmer foot, so a rolled hem foot, where you can turn a little tiny thinner fabric and turn that nice, soft, delicate edge right on through there. Beautiful. A seam guide, this can be actually added to the back of the machine, and you can set this for additional distance for stitching. So a little different than the one you actually attach to the throat plate. This one actually can go even further than that one. A vertical spool pin, so you can put this up top here. Normally you're going to put the thread horizontal. Sometimes you're going to put it vertical. So when we thread up the machine, I'll explain the difference there. Last little pack here is the Singer needles. By the way, if you pick home sewing machine needles, there's lots of different brands out there, they will all fit this machine. So you do not need to buy Singer needles, but we do have links below this YouTube video for you to find additional needles. Needles are the quickest thing to make things work. For example, if your machine's not working, your thread's breaking when you stitch, it's just not playing nicely, change your needle and clean your machine. So the needles are the biggest thing that we have that you need to change. All right, so let's just go through this other little pack, because normally that's when I stop. Oh, there's a little spool cap. There's also a couple spool caps already on the machine up on that horizontal spool pin. I'll show you which ones we use depending on the size of spool you're using. Okay, so I mentioned that there is a different ankle. So this is the key. This little guy, the white one, that's the one that we actually find on our Husqvarna Viking machines, and they have a slightly different way that the feet snap on and off. So you'll need this ankle for this set of feet that I'm going to show you next. There's a little packet of directions. So there's the shank that I was just showing you. You have an adjustable bias binder. Oh my gosh, that's a expensive foot actually, included with this machine. There is a braiding foot, a braiding guide, and braiding means couching in my world, so I use that quite a bit for our techniques. A clearance plate, I call it a multi-purpose tool, because there's a lot that you can do, including, look right here. So on this, okay, so what it's designed to do is give you a distance like between your buttons and the fabric. So if you're sewing a button on, this will leave a little distance of thread. It can also help you get up and over a really thick seam. And see that little hole at the end? You're going to see me actually use that for taking a needle in and out. There's a flat side on the back of that hole, almost shaped like a D with a flat here. So hold the needle, let you get in, catch it when you loosen it, and help you lift it up all the way as high as it needs to go when you go to put it in. So it's, for me, a multi-purpose tool called a clearance plate in here, and a single welt cord foot. So if you're doing any type of piping, that is actually a foot that comes with it. We have a fancy trim foot, so you can stitch over sequins or ribbon. You can do decorative stitches, you can do a zigzag, and then we have a stitch in the ditch foot with 1/4-inch marks. So all of them kind of slide on and off that ankle. Here's the one with the little blade in the middle for stitching in the ditch. The fancy trim foot is actually a clear foot. You put your sequins and flat items in there. Here's the couching foot. Again, so used to seeing these on our Viking machines, but here we are on this machine, totally included with your purchase. All right, let's get started. We'll start using all these feet. I just added a whole bunch of videos to the list of what I had originally planned to film.